welcome back to another episode of It Depends, I Guess podcast. I am Caroline.
I'm Jackie.
And we have...
DJ.
Woo! We are at episode 15, actually.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, it's been an incredible 2 months and a half of working on this podcast. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you for joining us. We are a podcast that discusses most of our life topics.
Yep.
That we usually have offline. We bring them online to you. And if you're coming back, thank you again for the support, the comments, the follows on social. We love that.
Yes.
And today's topic is going to be about burnout.
Yes, we promised a follow-up.
Yes.
So here it is.
It is a follow-up from our last week's episode, which was about why do we work? And we loved seeing your comments about the reasons why you work. For those who work for the wine, for those who work to support their lifestyle.
All valid.
All valid. Yeah. So today we are continuing with this discussion on work, but now specifically about burnout and when does work start feeling pointless. But before we jump in, let's have a look at your week. Like, what are your highlights or lowlights? Let's start with you.
Yes. I have two. One, the president of Burkina. I know he came in via dodgy means, via coup, but well, he's here now. I saw he's giving, his ministers are getting a pay cut.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, 20% pay cut.
How are they reacting? Are they happy about that?
Well, no, but he doesn't care. Also, interestingly, I never knew. So he was a military leader, and then came in now as president.
Yes.
Overthrew whatever the term is.
Yep.
He's never taken a presidential salary. He still gets paid just whatever his salary was before.
Yeah.
And then, he feels like, I guess it's too inflated in terms of how ministers are paid. And I guess it doesn't align with what they're actually producing and what they're meant to be doing.
Yes.
So they're getting pay cuts.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's fair.
I'm telling you, these young leaders we're getting.
Yes. Last week you just mentioned about the
Senegalese
president saying no more red carpets at the airport.
Yeah. You people don't have things to do. Go do your job. Just let me come in and out. But so people are getting a pay cut, and I was like, God, Kenya,
Nice.
please
Shrink the cabinet to start with.
yes, Ruto, don't be afraid to fire, man. Then the other highlight I had, first it was chaotic. On social media, there's that Euphoria, who are a brand, a beauty brand. They do foundation. I think the founder is of Korean descent. Initially, she had launched a line, and the line had mostly for white people.
Yeah.
Then there was like a shade or two for black people.
Yeah.
And this was, I guess, a year ago, whenever this was. And there was uproar in terms of, you can't come and give black people like two shades.
Yeah.
We are in 2023.
Yeah.
It's not...
Yeah.
Back then where L'Oreal would be like, Mark, whoever it was, or like, here is the one shade, you guys figure yourselves out. So then I think her response in the beginning was not great. Then she came back and she was like, no, actually, I'm sorry. Because I think her response was, we're just doing a proof of concept. And so people are like, if you're doing a proof of concept, are you saying if these shades work on white people, they're like, well, okay, all right, black people, then now you come in the next round. Like at the same time, you could have just not put any shade for black people and be like, this brand is specifically for white people, and that's fine. So anyway, she was like, oh no, we're going to expand, blah, blah, blah. Then now she came back now with this launch. She said she had to fast track the production. And now so she launched now with a larger line and with the darkest shade that has ever existed. In fact, I saw her TikTok where she went into a beauty store and swatched like a Fenty and I can't remember what the other brand was, Dior or someone, and then and said, what we have darker than, we are the darkest in the market.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, this should give you pause. If Rihanna, who's a black woman, has a beauty brand and your shade is darker than hers, maybe you should take pause and be like, I wonder. Also, I never realized, I through digging, that Fenty have actually published their kind of like playbook.
Yeah.
So you can go and see the shades they use, colors they use to make up the different makeup. So this influencer, I think I don't say she's called Gloria, did a swatch. She was like, one side is black face paint.
Yes.
And then the other side is the foundation.
Yeah.
And she said, guess which one is the face paint?
You couldn't tell the difference.
So this lady went and just took black and put in a bottle.
Yeah.
Now, what annoyed me is in the comments, all these people who were like, oh, but I know this, I have a friend who's really dark, who's from South Sudan. This shade would fit her. Some other person was like, oh, but there's this other black creator I know. And the thing I love about the place we are at now is some of those black creators who have mentioned in the comments went and did a video.
Yeah.
And are like, I am from South Sudan. We are the darkest ever.
Yeah.
This shade is darker than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was just like, and she's gone quiet. It's been like, I don't know if she's responded, but I know as of yesterday, I think or this week, they've been pulled from the shelves.
Yeah.
They've been removed from the shelves.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, one, I thought that was really dope because black voices are just like, hey, you can't treat us like this. It's the same. Like, why not go just take white paint and put in a bottle and
then say
tell
that's the
whitest
whitest,
person
yeah.
you use that.
Yeah.
You can't think that's okay in this day and age.
Yeah.
So I really like that. But also, I think it's about time, and I'm seeing this more in the beauty industry, and I hope this grows. Go where your money is wanted.
Yeah.
Just, we don't have to, it's okay, these people don't have to do these things. And I'm glad they were called out. And I hope if they do come back with whatever other colors, don't support those fucking brands.
Yeah.
Let's just go where our money is wanted. So it was just really good to see people's like black voices make noises. It all started with one influencer.
Yeah.
And like she was stuck by it, and it was good to see so many other black influencers come in and be like, yo, and there's a guy who was like a chemist and went and looked at the color code, and he was like, yeah, this is just black
paint.
And he's like, and if you go look at the other brands, the Fenty's, the whoever the darkest range, you'll see it's black mixed with a brown, because everyone has an undertone.
Yeah.
Nobody's black.
Not like my
nobody's that. Everyone has some undertone of sorts. And so it was nice to see like she got so much support. I think she was on a whole bunch of TV stations, being interviewed and being very loud and just saying, people, you can't treat black people like this.
Yeah.
This money, our money is the same money.
Yeah. And in this day and age, the way you've said, like Fenty has already published their combination of how they've come up with the shades.
Yeah.
You're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
This exists. The reason why you can just go package black paint and say
I think it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah. That I saw lots of influencers actually trying out the shades, and even though it was the last the last of their shade, between that and the other one was the second last.
It was like 10 other shades in between. It's like, ma'am, just don't. It's okay. It's all right. We don't want your makeup. It's fine. Keep it.
Yeah.
It's for the white people or Asians. Great. Keep it. It's all good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's that's a highlight because people have voiced their opinions.
Yeah, people are starting to understand money's worth.
Yeah, and your voice actually matters. I love what social media is doing in terms of reacting to how people are producing products.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. DJ, your week.
My week's highlights or lowlights. Got a parking ticket.
Ooh.
Yeah, low light. I'll leave it on there.
What happened? Did they tell you?
No. It was actually, here in Switzerland, if a car doesn't fit in the space, it's not meant to be parked there.
Yeah.
Tando thinking, nah. Actually, DJ thinking, nah. We can fit there.
Yeah.
I put the car there, and my one back wheel was just
on the line.
Yeah.
On the borderline.
Nah, it doesn't fit there.
Yeah.
You should see them. They come with actually like a whole ruler and everything
measuring
to
thing,
measure.
yeah.
I saw
That's
one of
crazy.
them this morning, a whole cop, and he's just taking pictures. Ka-ching, ka-ching. I'm like, it's at 9 a.m.
They are very smart about it as well.
Yeah.
They are all ladies who give those parking tickets. All middle-aged women. What are you going to say?
Yeah.
And they'll speak to you so nicely.
Yeah.
It's Swiss German. Yeah. Then they'll hand you the ticket.
How much is a parking ticket worth here?
No, this one was 120. Yeah, it was in
that's
a
still steep.
high. It was next to a hospital. So
Yeah.
One day
Well-
we should find that. Remember that page that shows how much money the city makes from
Yeah.
those
Speeding
speeding
cameras.
cameras,
Yes.
and the specific ones that bring in millions
Yes,
a
yes,
month. I said, "Oh my god,
The city
can
is
they
actually
outsource
rolling.
this business? Can I
Yeah.
come and bring my
they
speed
make
camera?"
they make a lot of money.
They're making a lot of money. And,
And
there's
it's like
one.
they move the cameras. Oh, I've never seen
Yeah.
one getting set up.
Yeah.
I've never seen
Yeah.
one.
Probably
But
at
they're
4
always
a.m.
moving.
Yes.
Yeah, they probably. I think it's some. They come and park the van in reverse,
Yeah.
push it out, set it down, and then drive off. So
Ah,
you
so
never
you
get to
never
see. You
know
never notice
what's-
it happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
sorry
fun
for the
times.
ticket.
Low light.
Low light. I'll come with a highlight next week.
Yeah, my highlight for this week, actually, it is sort of a moment of self-realization. And we were just discussing that just before we started the episode. But it goes in line with our theme for the podcast. And it was me trying to work on something, few projects I have here and there, and feeling quite overwhelmed that I'm not finishing them through. And then remembering the book I read about, it's called Atomic Habits, like how you stack your habits and how you can actually cut an elephant into pieces rather than try to eat an elephant all at a go. So just reminding myself that whenever you have a task that is big, you don't have to give yourself an impossible deadline or an impossible task. Sometimes you can just do small things to build it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I guess revisiting that was sort of a good moment just to be like, "Whoosh, I don't have to give myself this impossible target.
Yeah.
I can always break them down to small pieces." Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that ties in really well.
Yes.
You're the one who'll be giving us advice at the end of this podcast, the end of this episode.
I don't know.
Like,
But
teach us.
Yeah. So jumping into the podcast, and I'll let you take us through what you. Let me mention the name again of the title of the podcast is Burnout. When does work start feeling pointless?
Yeah. And
Define for us burnout.
Yes. So, and I think we even mentioned last week, it's the last episode, that's the episode, the YouTube documentary.
Yes.
That we watched that kind of spanned the conversation, and we were like, yeah, actually. And I think also we've been sharing back and forth a lot of influencers and like on Instagram mostly,
Yes.
who are talking about why is it the millennials are feeling this way and what is
Yeah.
happening, etc.
Yeah.
So I think we're like, okay, this is something we should talk about. So burnout. So it's defined as a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged or excessive stress. It's different from regular stress in that it's more severe and it's more prolonged. It's over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And it can leave you feeling helpless, hopeless, and cynical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, just indicators of you may be going through burnout. One, it's the chronic stress.
Yeah.
So it's not the stress of like, oh, I have this project that's due tomorrow. I'm so stressed. This is like it's consistent. It's not like short bursts of stress. It's something ongoing, and you feel like you're not able to manage it or wrangle
Yeah.
it. Also, emotional exhaustion. When you just feel emotionally drained and you just keep getting this feeling of I can't cope.
Yeah. If everyday small tasks become almost impossible to handle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And every little thing feels overwhelming.
Yes.
Yeah.
And one thing can throw you fully off course.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you have reduced motivation. So you find yourself losing interest and motivation, and not just in your work. It starts kind of seeping over into the rest of your life. So even like hobbies and social life, things that you had interest in, kind of just lose their touch. Cynicism and detachment. So you start developing a negative attitude and just feeling cynical about your work.
Yeah.
Right? Just like what is the point?
What am
Like,
I doing?
Yes.
What's the point of all this? Yeah.
And I know I used to know sometimes, I don't know if it was for me, it was burnout or more of, maybe, I don't know if it was burnout or more that I need to move to a different project or different team or change path is whenever I find myself saying, folks, we're not doctors. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're not saving lives.
I have a manager. Actually, I liked them because a manager who kept telling me, we are not in the work of saving babies.
Yeah.
So don't stress yourself. Too much.
Yeah.
We are in engineering. We are IT. So, yeah.
Then a sense of inefficacy.
Yeah.
Where you feel like you're doing so much, but you're like not making a difference. And then it's like you have no control over the situation, right? So this I think how many of those 5 things are kind of key indicators that, okay, I think I'm kind of in the burnout zone. Yeah.
And usually people don't know when these things are creeping up on you because it starts very small. I think that's how burnout starts.
Yeah.
It starts with something very small
and
slowly builds over time. And I think because it's when you're doing work that you normally do normal day to day, you can't tell it's coming.
Yes.
It's not like you've gotten a new job, and then you have to put in your 100% into it. But this is like, imagine you're doing work that you've normally done for like the last 5 years, but all of a sudden you start like becoming cynical about it, you're becoming overwhelmed. That's how it starts clipping up on you, and you don't recognize it because you're like, I've always done this job. Like, why now? So you become doubtful about yourself on it.
And sometimes I think different people have different ways of. So, for example, for me, as I've mentioned, there's points I used to know, like, oh, okay, I think I'm getting to the cup of whatever role I was in. Because for me, a big thing that was a driver for me was learning. So if I'm no longer learning or feeling challenged, I'm like, oh, okay, this is about time I should move, right? So there's also certain things that people have that are indicator of like, oh, maybe maybe you fulfilled your, if for you purpose is a thing in your job role, maybe I've just, I've tapped out, maybe I need to look for a new challenge. But also don't dismiss that, right? Because also look out for all the other things, and especially the chronic stress. Yeah, where it's just like, it's just continuous and continuous and continuous. And I think what I've seen, especially in our sector, is people always are like, hey, no, I'll just take a vacation here. Then you're like, it's not, you're just fixing for the short term. But we'll talk through how to also try and deal with these things longer term versus having them like really cripple your life. And also just on the documentary we watched, are there things that stood out to you from some of the people who are speaking or who are giving their experiences where with extreme burnout?
I watched this like 3 weeks ago. Let me see if something that comes top to mind. I think what I remember is one of the psychologists there talking about, you feel like you're the only one going through this, so you never speak it out, and then you internalize it, and then everybody internalizes it. So you're looking around and thinking, I'm the only one who can't handle my work. Why am I feeling overwhelmed? Why am I being stressed? I think that stood out.
It's a you problem.
It becomes a you problem because you're like, everybody else seems to be okay.
Yeah.
I think that stood out because I know sometimes people, especially in workspaces with colleagues, you don't vocalize a lot of what you're thinking or even going through. So everybody's sort of handling it by themselves.
Yeah. I fully agree. That stood out to me as well as the lady who was talking about how, I guess she was the primary Anna with her husband. Then they'd always wanted kids, but then in her career, like taking time out to have kids was kind of it was like a detrimental. You're cutting your career at your knees, at its knees, right? So she's thinking, no, I'll keep working, because I think they also wanted to get a house. It was a big deal for them to get a house. Then now they can start having a family, and so to get the house, she's thinking, I need to work longer to be able to make more money to get this house, so then that our lives can begin with a family. And that is how her marriage ended, right? And then now the marriage has ended and she's like still in it. And I remember her saying that there are days she's going to work and she's thinking,
Yeah.
it's okay. Can a bus hit me, or can I drive? Like, just whereby she's not. It's not that she wants to take herself out, but she's like, if somebody else takes me out, I'm okay with it,
Yeah.
right?
quite
And I
sad.
was just like, oof, that's
quite
yeah,
yeah, and
Yeah.
quite sad, because I can see when you're putting in your all for your personal life, but then you never get that personal life because it's all taken by work, and then everything ends. Everything, it's
Yeah.
quite sad on
yeah,
that one.
yeah, it is.
It's
And
really
also,
good documentary.
it's
by the
really
way.
good. Yeah. And one of the parts that I found amusing was I think it's just in the beginning where they're like, like things like, are you in a job place where suddenly there's like, you used to have one decision maker, suddenly there's like 15 decision makers. And then they're like, suddenly there's things that are meetings are just a thing. Meetings about meetings and just meetings. And then what was the other thing that stood out? Now you have town halls. And it's just, and then there's talk about, there's this manual from Second World War, I think it was published by the CIA or something.
Yes.
Like a simple sabotage field manual.
Yeah.
And a lot of those things are being brought into the workplace. And I'm like, hold on.
All those cop jargon that exists
Yes.
right now, doubling
Those were
back.
things that were part of sabotage during a Cold War. And I'm like, what the hell?
Now they're in corporate.
And I was like, oh my God. That was hilarious. Okay. So let's go into the general factors that increase burnout.
Yeah.
And then we will go into why is it that it's millennials who are kind of getting hit really hard by this now.
Yeah.
And
so before we go there, one thing that came out about millennials is that we are 40% poorer compared to our parents and our grandparents. Because even now, millennials who own homes, imagine your parents where they were at your age. Like they could afford, with the salary that you have, probably they could afford whatever they imagined as part of their lifestyle at home, take their kids to school. Nowadays, with that salary, like it's even harder to manage life as it is. Like, so
it's so true.
The inflation itself, of course, has a lot of hand in it. Yeah.
Because I think about what my parents used to make, and we were 4 children. We are 4. I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, millennials and one of the biggest factors.
So the first general factor that increases burnout is we are living in an always on culture at the moment, where technology is great. It's coming and it's given us things that I guess we didn't have many years ago. But at the same time, it also means you're connected 24/7, right? And job places, this is great for them because it means you're always kind of in it. Even you technically log off of work, but an email comes in and you're on your phone, you're like, okay, I'm looking at the email, and you're like thinking, and you're already thinking up, this person needs this thing, so tomorrow when I get in, you're never really fully disconnected, right? And it blurs the lines between life and work.
Yep.
And I think that was made way, way worse by COVID, because then we're working
from home.
Your home was your office, was your entertainment, it was your
you
schooling.
Never left
if you had children, it was chaotic. And I think for us to also now detangle from that now is a bit harder. But we're currently living in an always on culture, and that's playing a big, big role in why burnout is just much more.
Yeah.
Then there's changing work demands. So there's 2 subcategories under this. So there's first increased work demands, where industries now or companies now have, say, customers, and you have customers all over the world.
Yeah.
And then now you have to run as a 24-hour company, right? So it means you have people either working more shifts or less shifts. Yes, you can do less shifts, but then we're also living in a time where you want to make more money. So if you're getting overtime, great, right? So just the increasing work demands for a company, that is going to go down and trickle down into the employees, right?
Yeah.
People working weekends and working different things. Like, so they're just, work demands now are very different from 15, 20 years ago.
And the global footprint.
Yeah.
The time zone thing.
Yes.
That becomes another mental overload.
Yeah. And then after that, it's also, within that is also, the work itself is also more intense.
Yeah.
Right? You're required to do more in less time. Right? So, and this is something interesting that I've seen is people are like, oh yeah, this year we did 10 million customers. Yay. All right. Then the year next, let's say now in 2024, they're like, oh, well, we're living in tough economic times. So companies will say we'll cut jobs or whatever. There's more redundancies, etc. Because the macroeconomy is not in a great place. You can see how it's a good business decision to say, let's have less employees. But then you can still, in the same sentence, say, now this year you want to have 20 million customers.
Yes.
Right? There was 10 million last year. You want to do double with half the number of people.
Because targets, actually, for most companies,
never go down.
They will never go down. They will always increase.
Yes.
And they will never try say, oh, we're gonna break even same year. No. It's always a higher percentage.
Yes. And the deadlines are going to be tighter and tighter. So just work itself is just more intense in the times we're living in. Then there's just work-life balance. And again, I understand the last episode we said this is actually a newer thing that's come with the modern era. But with the increasing job demand and increasing work demand, and now we are always on, maybe it's more imperative to have work-life balance. But then clearly it's less.
It happens less.
Yeah. And in fact, I think I realized just even the conversation of work-life balance is a privilege for many, right? Many people are really just trying to get food on the table.
Yeah.
And do the best for themselves and do the best for, if you're the head of a household, you're just trying to do the best for everyone. So just when you start talking to certain people, certain rooms about work-life balance, they look at you like,
If you're self-employed, because you can burn out even when you're not in the typical corporate culture. If you're self-employed, you're always on, you're always strategizing, thinking about your next customer. Also, if you are employed and you have a side hustle, you will never be able to detach completely from work because you have something else that you also trying to put food on the table or make more money out of. So yes, it is a privilege sometimes when people talk about work-life balance. And it comes in with, if you have a certain set maybe role where you go, you work from maybe 9 to 5 and that's it. And then you're finding hard to detach. Then that's a privilege to talk about that.
It truly is. And it made me realize and made me think about, I've worked in different markets. So I worked in Kenya, I worked in India, I worked in Nigeria, I worked in Ireland, and now I'm in Switzerland. And it's interesting to see just the drastic difference between developing world and developed world.
Yes, that's true.
And how just even work-life balance is something that's baked into our society's kind of ways of operation. Now, Switzerland is wild. Like, people just go home. It shocked me, like, when I moved here and at 4 p.m. I look up my desk, empty. People are like, oh, no, it's 4 p.m. I'm going, it's summer, I'm going to, and they've come to work. I remember somebody writing an article about how strange this place is. He's like, he had come from, I think he was a journalist. So he had come to the office. They have a branch here. And then he's like, at 4 p.m. to somewhere 4 or 5 p.m., everyone's leaving. And he's like, oh, okay. And then they have these little bags, those waterproof bags?
Yes.
And they're like, so then they walk out of the office and then they've changed into like swim trunks they've put your laptop and your things in
The dry bag.
in the
Yeah,
dry
dry
bag,
bag, yeah.
and then they go and jump into the river because they're going to like float with the river.
Yes, yes, yes.
You
That has
Take you all to the train
I
station, all the
take
way
you-
to the train
yeah.
station.
that has to be in Basel because that has the floating.
Yeah,
they
you do
float
it
a
for
lot
your-
down the
let's say
river.
if you work-
Yes,
Just on the outskirts of Zurich.
Yeah.
You can take the canal all the way into the city.
Yeah.
So you
yes.
just jump in the water, float all
Float.
the way in.
Yeah,
it's another way of transport.
it is.
I have a colleague who actually used to come in paragliding in the morning.
In the morning.
to
This
work.
is wild. That guy, and the journalist is just like, he's like, where am I living? And is this a simulation? Like, what is happening? These people take their hobbies
Yes.
seriously.
Yeah.
When Swiss people tell you they hike, those people hike like 10 kilometers a day.
Yeah.
And it's just, but to them, they're like, no, yes, work is great, but I have to leave at 5 because I'm going to go to Interlaken and I don't even know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. It has been interesting to see how some of these things have to be baked into the culture such that if you're an employer coming into this market, and for example, here they're very strict about overtime. So when an employer comes into this market, the regulations are so tight. There's no one asking you to stay in after 5 p.m. or whatever.
Yeah.
No, right? They have to come in and respect the laws that exist. So it's just been really fascinating to think about. I remember one of our friends had come to visit just after I'd moved here. And I told her, what time are you coming in? I was like, I have to go for a Pilates class. And then I think she talked to somebody else. And then she remember we went for dinner, and then she's like, you guys have hobbies.
You
That
have stuff to do
you
after
have
work.
things to do after work that is not work. I was like, interestingly, yeah. And if you'd met me, like, even when I moved here, I had to align because then I'm like, well, this is how we work here. All right.
Yeah.
So that's financial pressures. That's maybe that should have been the first reason why.
Yeah. Why are we avoiding money? And money is always
Money
the
is
first
everything.
driver to what? Why we are working.
That should have been number one.
Yes.
We're living in a time, the inflation is insane. Even
Yeah.
as a stat you said earlier, we are 40% poorer than our parents.
Yeah.
So, yes, times the inflation has gone quicker than what,
Yeah.
what you're making, right? So you have to make more to get by.
Yeah.
So that should have been point number one. These people are not working for fun here. People are
Yes.
working for
Yes.
money. Then there's cultural norms.
Yeah.
This one speaks to how I was raised.
Yes.
We were raised in our region.
A millennial raised in Kenya,
Yes.
and especially from a specific tribe.
Yes, you have been told that working that is part of your identity. So even just saying you're busy is a thing that is a proud thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In fact, sometimes you'd say, I'm so busy, and you'll be told, yes, that's good. Many people want to be busy, right? So that whole concept of working hard and this whole thing of what do you mean you're going on vacation? Actually, let me call out my brother here. I think there's a time, and maybe I can't remember, I traveled for something, and then I was back. I was chatting to my brother about something. Then maybe 2 weeks later, he messaged me to help him do something. I told him, I'll do it when I get back. And he was actually, maybe it was a month's difference. And he's like, weren't you just on holiday the other day? I was like, and? But that's part of a thing of like, no, what do you mean you're just on holiday? No, there's a point in my life, I'll be honest, I used to hide. If I travel, I used to hide.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't want the many questions of, you people, what are you doing with your life? You see that money you can use it. No, but that money you can use in other places.
Yeah.
And it just looks like you're wasting money and you're wasting time.
Yeah.
That time you could be working and made more money. It's just...
Yeah.
And the option doesn't rise that you can actually do both.
Yeah.
Invest in what you want to invest in and take a holiday
Yeah.
Yeah.
while investing.
While investing, actually, you could be making money on that one.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a good point. That's going to be my other answer. So culturally, also, there's a culture that perpetuates a cycle of just overworking.
Yeah. Being productive is what is looked at as important.
Yeah.
Rest is looked at as being lazy
And weak.
and weak. Yes. So,
Yeah. Actually, you've had the common term, I'll rest when I die.
yes.
I'm pretty sure you've had that statement many times.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm sure you've had that statement many times.
Yeah. I'll sleep when I die.
I'll sleep when I die.
When I rest
I'll
when
rest
I die.
when I die.
Yeah.
You had that statement many times.
Yeah. There's this image in my mind that has never left my head, but it just resonated with what we were raised about. And it was, I think, on social media, in a matatu, there was this lady with, it was a mama, like an older lady. It was in the evening. I think she's heading home, but she's busy peeling peas in the matatu.
Ooh.
Because
Matatus are public transport in Kenya. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Matatus are public transport.
Yeah.
And I remember somebody in the comments said, when do you people ever rest?
Yeah.
And I was like, but things gotta be done. In my head, I was thinking, things gotta be done. She gets home, maybe a cow needs to be milked, food needs to be cooked. But it's the always on culture, always doing something. Because to her, somebody looking at her was like, oh, this must be a very well thought, prepared person. But even in the public transport, you're on your way home, you've had a busy day, but you're busy working.
Still just working.
You're working.
It never ends.
It never ends.
my
Yeah.
God.
But yeah.
Then the last one, this is for general factors that are increasing burnout, is also just the mental health stigma.
Yeah.
Which you said, even that stood out to you in the documentary, is there's also a stigma of being able to say, like, I need some time.
Yeah.
I need to just recollect myself. Nobody's like, you're considered or looked at as weak. So you're just in there hanging in and just chugging on and chugging on and chugging on. Versus if you were able to take that mental health break, it could have prevented you from going into burnout.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of stigma around acknowledging or even stating out loud people that, you know what, from a mental health standpoint, maybe I need to take a month off. That's seen as, that's weak.
There's always this thought of, and especially I think in the millennial group, is that if you're having such a time, you need to explain how, or as in you cannot just say, I need to take time off. You feel like you owe them like an explanation that's very deep. A doctor's, write out saying you're going through all that. And sometimes that feels very overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like I've seen that, yes.
And, I was going to try not to be controversial in this episode. And also, and this is something I noticed, for Black people and Black women, actually never asked the Black men I worked with, but Black women, because your view, this whole narrative of you're strong penetrates into the workplace.
Yes.
So when you're like, no, I need to go on bereavement for a month, it's looked at as, no, like that's too much.
Yeah.
That is too much time.
Is it self-perception or what you think people are looking at?
I think it's what people are looking at.
Yeah.
Because I have seen and I have experienced and I've spoken to a few people in different sectors, like Black women and the experience in those sectors. And I've seen white women get time off for the wildest things. Or there's no explanation needed.
Example, my dog died or my cat died.
Oh my God, the dog died. Oh, no.
You try say my dog died and you want time off.
You were like, I've lost a parent. You're told, all right, here is 3 days.
Yes.
Anyway, one day.
It's good to bring in controversy because it all depends. I guess.
Yeah. So I remember one time advising someone, and I hope she did it. And I told her, because I think she was like just really exhausted. I told her, just say, hey, I'm taking mental health week off. If you ask if the person requires it, like log into the system, ask, should I log into the system or can I go?
Yeah.
Don't have a discussion of can I meet or please can we? Because I think also there's a part that we put ourselves in positions because culturally we are so used to the things, and again, this comes down from where we've been raised. There are things we don't know are our rights, right? So we'll go into a situation and we want to come in with just explanations of like, okay, so then this happened and then this happened, and no. And I get that sometimes you have to shed that and just be gung ho and be like, oh, hey, I'm out. Do you need set the standards? And I think I learned this from my first few years in the job sector. You are just so grateful this is what it is. You're grateful to have a job.
Yes.
Right? And everyone reminds you how grateful you should be to have a job.
Yeah.
So you're just grateful.
Yeah.
So you're just like, I should take time off. You're like, oh, but maybe let me just, people are going on holiday. Let me work.
You feel like you
this
owe,
week.
you
So let me
owe
work
so
so that, or wherever there's somebody, there's an ask for a volunteer to do something extra. You're just always the one putting yourself out there. Then I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I am the employee here. So if we are not here, this thing doesn't get done. Sure, you can hire other people. But hopefully if you're in a country where there's some labor laws, they can't just wake up and be like, big on. No. So it had shifting where I was like, oh, you know what? I'm the one who's making myself so available for these people.
You've
So
set
they
the
know
standard.
I've set the standard.
Yes.
So they know if they email Jackie at 9 p.m., 9:05, she'll get back to me. If you email, then I had to get to a point where I realized, oh, these people just know, I'm the reliable one. As DJ once said, stop being reliable. I started being like, oh yeah, no, I'm out.
Sounds about right.
Yes.
I'm out. My bad. Hit up someone else.
Yeah.
Right. So I had to now start setting boundaries, because then you realize all these extra things you're doing, there's no medal for these extra things you're doing. If anything, you and your mental health and your health, physical health, is the one that is being burdened and is suffering. If somebody's not giving you a check for that extra time, don't need it.
Yeah. We set ourselves to fail in
Yeah.
some of this.
Yeah.
But also I guess in different countries, because in Switzerland, it's easy to set such a boundary. But if you're in a country like maybe where I started working in Kenya, I didn't even know what to do. It was expected of me, and it wasn't written in the contract, but you were almost put in a position where if you don't do this, you might not get your job. So there would be scare tactics to make sure that you're working after that.
Yeah.
After work, or you're available 24/7.
Yeah.
So it is a privilege in some countries. You can set such a boundary.
Yeah.
But again, if you're in Kenya,
Yeah.
I'll give Kenya as an example.
This is random sidebar. I always, because of things like this, I always say when I have way more money than I have now, I would just like to invest in a bunch of lawyers in Kenya who've graduated.
Yeah.
And we just set up a fund for class action suits. Because I think what is lacking in Kenya to help with boundaries, we just need to sue a bunch of people. And people will be like, oh, okay, we have to respect contracts. Because sometimes I see, for example, it will be on a Reddit thread or somewhere, or on social media somewhere, someone talking about, oh, this happened at work, then I was told I'm fired, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, now, if I was living in Kenya, I'd be like, oh, dude, that sucks. But then, Ireland is where I started learning more about, labor laws, where it's no, there's a law, there's a rule that in Ireland, by the time a company fires you, it's 2 years. Because they have to show that we put them on that thing. We have to show that you have to show all these things by law. The reason they got there is because they must have gone through some corporate lawsuit that the companies are like, hey, no, this is the company's law. So if you're a lawyer and you're looking for
class action suits,
there's many people who I'd like to sue. Employers, the government, especially things like roads, where so many accidents that are caused, and a big part of the reason where the accidents are happening is because of how the road is built. We'll sue the hell out of Kenya Highway Authorities or whoever the hell they are. But that is, if you ever hear me investing in a law firm, this is what I'm doing. Class action lawsuits.
Yeah.
All right. So do you want to go into the part for why is it that millennials are the ones that are heavily
yes,
impacted?
So why millennials? First of all, our work culture.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about work culture
Yeah.
in the last episode, but we have work culture that emphasizes on putting in long hours. I usually call it Game of Thrones, not Game of Thrones, Hunger Games,
Oh,
kind
God.
of work culture,
The Hunger Games.
where you're always chasing the next highest target,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And I've seen it a lot, especially in tech, in terms of there's usually the reward for when you're the one who've come up with this thing and you've talked about it and you're putting in hours. And I give an example like when I worked in Ireland and this person worked a whole weekend working on a product, a small like script or something. And there was so much recognition and reward given to the person. And in my small mind at that point, I was thinking, oh, this is the only...
This is what we need to do.
This is what we need to do. So the next weekend, I was looking for the next little project to work on. So if the work culture emphasizes on those that kind of putting in the hours,
Yeah.
we as the millennials and Gen Zs actually have figured out
They're like, you guys, all fucked up.
they have better boundaries when it
They
comes
do.
to that kind of putting in long
They
hours.
do.
Yeah,
And also, it makes me think of, I guess it's with our generation, with at least with the millennials, is
Yeah.
where there's this huge thing around hustle culture.
yeah,
Right. So you're just hustling and hustling and hustling.
Yeah.
Right. So it's again probably an impact of finances and where we are at. But
if we are 40% poor compared to our great and parents and our great grandparents, then we feel the urge to actually put in extra hustle,
Yeah.
have side hustles, try make money left, right, center.
Yeah.
Because even when I was in Kenya, I had a side hustle.
I don't know an African who doesn't have a side hustle.
Yeah.
It's also the economy.
Even here, I have a side hustle.
Yeah, that's true.
There's always
That's
a
true.
side.
See, it's
No,
also a
see,
culture.
Culture.
See, it's a cultural thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Technology is another thing. Like we are the millennials are the ones who are at the boundary of before internet,
Yeah.
after internet.
Yes.
We've experienced both worlds. Yeah.
Remember a world without it?
Yes.
Now a world
Now
with it.
with it. There's always the urge to actually make use of what exists in terms of technology as a millennial. Like I'll give myself as an example. I'm always looking out for the next, what has been released, what's the next thing. Like for me, technology is always very exciting. Maybe it's because of the boundaries of my work and everything. But I've always felt that as millennials, we are intrigued. We always want to get connected, and also the availability of technology itself. Yeah.
So the palm of our hands.
Yes, it's so
Yeah.
hard to disconnect.
Yeah.
Like we are unable to, I don't know, like it's like our brains have been wired to always check. It's like a drug.
It is the fact that this is a bit TMI. But sometimes if it's like, oh, I'm going to the bathroom and then I carry my phone. And I'm like, wait, why am I taking the phone with me to the... Like, that is so odd.
Yes. If you're doing something, if you're like for me, if I'm going for a walk, I'll put in maybe some music. If I am cooking, I will be listening to an audiobook. Like there is no time I'm disconnected from technology.
Technology. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes our worst nightmare is like, oh, there's no Wi-Fi. It's really bad that now when you look at hotels, when you're booking somewhere, when you travel, you're like, do they? You look at reviews to see if they complain about Wi-Fi. That's not the place to say, because we're just
So connected.
Yeah, it's true. To be honest, it is a drug.
Yeah, it is. Now you know when I used to travel a lot pre-COVID, we had there was a transition when there was no Wi-Fi on the planes, and then there was a transition where there was Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah.
I remember a time I spent a lot of money in the flight because I wanted
buying the bundles.
buying the bundles because I wanted to be connected. Like I can't imagine like always being connected to technology. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I can't imagine being disconnected. Okay, this is bad. Yeah, no. Anyway. I think we mentioned financial pressures.
Yeah.
Oh, but actually, yeah, many millennials entered the workplace after the 2008
Collapse the
economic crisis.
crisis, yeah.
Yes. So
Something about that.
yes, because that, sometimes I wonder, maybe I need to look into this. When now there's a recession, which comes with inflation and all these different things, when things regularize, there's no going back to where things were before. Then you're now, that's the new bar.
Yeah.
Then now the next time, the next recession,
Yeah.
again, another new bar is set. And right now we're going through another recession post-COVID. So it's like, ooh, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, we failed you.
Gen Alpha. Oh.
We failed you guys, my bad.
I wonder maybe like financially for the Gen Alphas, like how it will be like, because Gen Zs have reset what it is like to work. Actually, I saw there's somebody on social media who mentioned that it was on TikTok that she wonders how she will ever have a life because she works, she's in New York, she works, she goes home, she sleeps, she wakes up, goes back to work. And most people on the comments who were Gen X and millennials were like, you Gen Zs are lazy. You don't know how to work. But she's already feeling this is not what life is meant to be.
Yeah.
So if they're able to reset that and alphas come back in with maybe a slower mindset, I'm not sure. Like,
yeah, and I also wonder if that comes with them redefining the need for money. Because I wonder, this is something that crossed my mind as we were preparing for this podcast, this episode, is part of this, because somebody the 2 weekends ago, we were having this discussion where somebody asked, what is the enough money for you to retire?
Yeah.
I remember it was not something I had top of mind. They're calculating like, okay, so if I am based here, okay, I need this much. Then, which means, and I wondered afterwards, and even as I was preparing for this, is it also because, and then I'll speak for my household. Growing up, we were always being reminded, this water is not free.
Yes.
This chair you're sitting on is not free. The fact that you have clothes, that's not free.
Yeah.
And even when I'd even asked for a textbook of, there's this new textbook. I remember once my dad telling me, hey, go outside, look at that tree. Do you see money has leaves?
Oh, yes. I think every African household has been told money does not grow.
No, it's just leaves. Okay, yes. All right. And it's like, all I did was ask for a textbook. I'm not asking for new sneakers. All I asked for. Yeah. So even you as a child, you're already budgeting. So if you want something, you're already calculating in your head. You're like, okay, I'll be told no for that. I'll be told no for that. So even you as a child, you're already now. So it's, and I remember one of our friends asking me, what is your, when you think about money, what does money mean to you?
Yeah.
And I was like, actually, right now, I've had to build a better relationship with money because I was always told about the lack of. So I always grew up with the lack of. So it's very hard for me now to be like, oh, you know what? I think I have enough.
Yeah.
Because I'm always living in
the
lack of.
Yeah.
And interestingly, in her household, it was the opposite. She was always told it's easy to make money, but it's even harder to maintain or keep it. It's very easy to lose it. It can, the same way it came, the same way it can go.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So she's never thought about money as, this lack of things. She just knows, no, there'll always be money. And I'm like, that's where I'm trying to get to. And I wonder, and I hope that Gen Zs and Gen Alphas live in that mindset of, I can always make money. Because I think a big chunk of millennials are growing up in, and even when I read and listen to content of millennials, for example, in the US, they always talk about they were latchkey kids. They're the kids who would go home by them. There's no one home.
Yeah.
So they have to open the door for themselves. They know how to make themselves a snack because their mom has to leave the one job or their parents leave one job, go to the next job. Because it was a time of, so again, you're seeing this whole thing of lack of, and you have to work so hard to get something. Yeah.
And this is where the pride of working hard actually is
comes
instilled
from.
in millennials. Like
Yeah.
for you to actually have the money that you need,
Yeah.
it's not about smart. It is how hard, the grit and
the grit.
you put in. Yes, yeah. So I can see millennials being the they actually drank that
Kool-Aid. Oh, we
Kool-Aid
did.
of like you have to work hard, you have to put in time. There's never money.
Yeah. That's very true. I thought you were going to say something.
No. I'm listening. I'm listening.
Our household was the same. It was more of like there's not enough. So we always have to be we have to tighten our belt.
Yes. Everything, the belt is every time. The belt needs, I'm like, if it's any tighter, it will break our ribs. Like, what is happening?
Tighten the belt. And the tighten the belt comes from it's like a saying when you're hungry.
If you press on your stomach, you don't feel hungry. If you press on your
stomach, you tighten the belt, your hunger just shrinks. Yeah. So maybe another thing about the millennials, I think we talked about this briefly, but I can mention is that the rest is unproductive. Like being restful is unproductive.
Yeah.
And you're looked at somebody who's lazy.
Yeah.
So if you have that at the back of your mind, it's the leading, it could be one of the things
leading causes of burnout. Yeah. Also, job insecurity. This is all tied to the economy. Job insecurity. I guess, or high expectations. I guess because the social media came in while we were already kind of living.
Yeah.
And then social media came in, and then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Me and my expectations of my Toyota is just been thrown in the trash. So I'm trying to be a Bentley girl or whatever it is.
Yeah. Your this is quite interesting. Your society, you could only look up to what
What's
you
in
knew,
there.
what's in there. So
when you tell me the whole world, you're like,
I remember growing up, like there was a neighbor who had a little Peugeot, like I love the pickup.
Peugeot.
Yes. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, Peugeot is the car
the golds. Yes.
This was before internet.
Now is Peugeot are still there. I guess it is.
They're very popular in France.
They are in France.
Oh yeah, actually that's in France. They're popular.
Yeah. Oh, and a Beetle, actually. My first car that I would have loved was a Beetle.
Was a Beetle.
Because my neighbor had a yellow Beetle. So, yeah.
Again, you just aspired for what you see. Now if you show that. And then also the ones you saw from outside were like movies. So you're like, that's movie stuff.
Yeah.
That's not real life.
Yeah.
And then social media came and you're like,
people like me can have those houses. They can go there. They can have those cars. And then, you set standards.
Yeah. I think we talk about lack of boundaries. Even in the workplace. Because again, I think we've been raised in a time of, should be grateful.
Yeah.
So with that, you're like, no boundaries.
Yeah.
Depending on where you grew up, I guess there's, and maybe this, I guess in Kenya, I wonder how it is now. Because in Kenya, I think maybe it's more the Gen Zs who are affected by more like student loan debts. But in the places like the US and developed world, like when I hear my friends talk about kind of the loans they have for education, I'm like, that is insane.
Yeah.
Education is a right. We should not be paying that much to kind of get that's insane.
Yeah.
And it pushes a certain demographic right out of the picture.
Yeah.
Some
By
demographics
default.
don't have a chance.
Yeah.
Where you're talking about you don't have something to eat, but you're meant to pay 100 grand.
Yeah, to go to college. It's like, and then somebody is giving you loans, which they're like, no, it's fine. You will get, and then
Why
you
don't
come out and
Americans
then
just
that
move
thing
to another country and get educated there?
I don't know, because to still be cheaper than
It'll
what
be
they are.
way cheaper. The state could pay for it in some places.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I guess I wonder, but also, I wonder if this is going to be another episode, or should I speak my thoughts? But also, it's that they have been told that they have the best.
Okay.
The Ivy League schools, most of them are in the
so
US.
to them, that's the best.
Yeah.
Okay.
So going elsewhere is like,
substandard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Which is not true if you're
No,
American.
it's not. But that's what they feel. Then, yeah, I think, a lot of millennials are also disillusioned with work. And again, I don't know, it depends on the market, but in Kenya, I think a big part of it is also you go to school, you've studied this engineering, whatever it is, then you go into the job market, and then your 2,000 engineers, there's only 200 places for. So are you going to hang around and wait to be an engineer? Or are you going to go and be hired by a PwC or go work for a bank? You're going to end up, then you're very disillusioned about work. And to be fair, that shift from college, at least for me, college into the workplace, even when I went on internships, I was like, these are two different worlds, right? In college, you have opinions and thoughts and blah, blah, blah. Then you go into a workplace of somebody who's like 70 years old, and they're like, yeah, I know you have a degree, but the first year you're going to be serving coffee.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, this is what I came in here to do. Like, it's not surprising, even in that documentary, job satisfaction is just one of ultra low with a good bunch of us.
Yeah. I have such an experience just before I left Kenya. My last job is that because I was reporting to finance when somebody in finance wasn't there. I was a systems admin.
Yeah, there you have to go to
I was doing finance functions because I'm just a hand in the office, you know, so I did finance stuff as well. But I can see disillusionment about in that aspect.
All right, so as we wind down, maybe we can go into ways to cope with burnout, or even ways to try not to even get burnout. But ways to cope, ways to manage, ways to prevent, etc.
Top of my mind on how I'd look at it on how to cope is, if something doesn't feel right, think about it, like spend a bit of time on it, don't dismiss. Because I believe if most of these things are small voices in your head that are like, oh, I'm not happy, but you keep doing, it could be, oh, I don't like how I have to spend so much time on this. But we are very good at ignoring that and saying, oh, if I just work harder, whatever I'm going through.
Your solution is to do more.
Oh, yes. I believe like getting it at the root, if you can, and if probably you miss that part, is actually voicing it. Like if you have, if it's your manager, if it's friends, if it's family, just voicing it and not feeling ashamed of feeling something. I guess that's another thing.
That's a really good one. One of mine is on boundaries, and I'll even go extreme and say, have boundaries almost the point of detachment. If you want to have a work persona and home out of work persona, do that, if that's how you're going to do it. But still, I think sometimes we're living in times where there's a lot of attachment to, yes, there's a gratitude to have a job. A lot of companies, I think also one of the ways, and I guess because especially we're in tech, is it's like you almost have to believe in the company and you have to, no, I think we need to go into it as, and I was talking to my mom about this. She's like, us back in the day, your job was just a way to pay rent. If you happen to like it, great. Even if you like it, still remember, this is not you, this is your employer. Your employer, I'm the employee. This is our relationship. Don't start going into, this is a really nice company. Let me do this thing. No. Have hardcore boundaries and emotionally. And I think people should also check to see if you ever have any emotional attachment to your work. Be cutthroat about that stuff.
Can I define this a little bit different in terms of there's a difference between workplace and career. You can be
Yes.
passionate about
Your career. Don't mix
Don't-
that with your workplace.
with your workplace.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's where most people
Yes.
mesh that in. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Be very clear. Do not, and if you can't distinguish it, even hearing this, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because then you are aware of it. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of emotional work to get to a point where you can detangle those things.
Yeah.
Be very passionate about your career. Always. Because then that's something that is going to take you much further than your workplace. For your workplace, you're an employee. Right? So and I think once you distinguish that, maybe it also really helps you be able to draw your boundaries, but also gives you a voice.
Yeah.
Right? If you think that, hey, I really don't think I should be doing blah, 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 blah. It helps you in going to conversations about whether it's a compensation or whether you think, hey, I don't think this role serves me anymore, or is there room for growth, or it gives you much more power and voice, and also makes you more heightened to some of this, like what you have said in terms of being aware, like, oh yeah, this doesn't make me happy. Let me dig into that. Yeah. So definitely that's one.
Yeah.
Cool. You have another one?
DJ.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm in a different line of work. This is all a learning experience.
Yeah. One really important one that I have to say is, well, there's try to get work-life balance. There's all that, but I think always seek professional help. Right? If you have a niggling feeling, a niggling thought, just find someone to talk to, professional. Don't go to your manager or supervisor or no. Find someone to talk to.
Yeah.
Right? And sometimes these companies these days have resources for mental health. So don't, I don't know. Sure, you can feel like, oh, is this me being weak? It's okay, be weak.
Yeah.
Be weak, because it's going to prevent you from going through something that's going to be even more detrimental, not just to your work, to your career, right? So definitely always go seek professional help.
There's something about that happens at the beginning of the year where people write these memes. God, I'm not your strongest soldier.
Give me the light ones.
Give me the light
I'm
ones.
done being the strong one.
I'm done being the strong
done.
one. It is okay to not be strong, honestly.
It truly is okay.
Yeah.
And especially as Black people who always go, oh, you're so, no. Just be like, no, I'm not strong. I'm going to go cry
you don't
for a
have
week.
to be strong.
I'm all right. Yeah, you don't have to be strong. And I think you brought it up to my attention. Someone on Instagram, and I think we'll put their link in the description, called Peter Goose or Goose. I'm not sure he pronounces it. But he has an Instagram page where all content is based on burnout. And they spend a lot of time expounding on that, etc.
Yeah.
So I would say absolutely look at that, and if you're able to, catch it early before it curtails it to something much worse, like do, right?
Yeah.
Because we've seen really extreme cases of people like taking their lives, or people having such a significant impact on their mental health that they just can't work anymore. So it's just take care of your health.
Take care of your. You don't have to be the strongest soldier.
No, you don't.
It's fine.
You don't.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
That was fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. We are okay on time. Yes.
Do you have ever heard of burnout in a DJ who's like he's burnt out? Or
No, only from alcohol.